给我们留言。
Hello, welcome to NHK Newsline. I'm Yamamoto Miki in Tokyo. We begin here in Japan with a somber anniversary. People in the southern prefecture of Okinawa are observing 75 years since the end of one of the fiercest ground battles in the closing stages of World War II. Since early morning, people have been coming out to pray for those who died in the Battle of Okinawa. Many are visiting a monument where names of the military personnel and civilians who lost their lives are inscribed. This man was 5 years old when the fighting erupted. He lost his father, brother, and grandparents.
I prayed and asked them to watch over us so that there will be peace and happiness.
This 88-year-old woman lost her uncle, who was a serviceman for the Imperial Japanese Navy.
Because of you, Uncle, we are able to enjoy peace. Please rest in peace. I pray for your soul.
More than 200,000 people lost their lives in the Battle of Okinawa, including a quarter of the population. On June 23, 1945, the Japanese military operations against the U.S. forces in Okinawa came to an end. About 200 people are expected to attend a memorial service at Peace Memorial Park in the city of Itoman on Tuesday. The annual event usually draws around 5,000 people, but this year the number will be smaller because of the coronavirus. Many people in Okinawa hope the anniversary is a chance for the entire country to examine the burden Okinawa is still shouldering. About 70% of the U.S. military facilities in Japan are concentrated in Okinawa. The prefecture remains at odds with the central government over a plan to relocate a U.S. base within Okinawa. Land reclamation is proceeding despite opposition from local residents. Former United States National Security Advisor John Bolton claims Japan has been asked to outlay $8 billion a year to host American troops. He writes in a new memoir that he made a request last year on behalf of President Donald Trump. The figure is more than 4 times the amount Japan currently pays. Bolton makes a claim in his book released on Tuesday. Bolton made an official visit to Tokyo in July last year. He writes that during that trip, he conveyed Trump's request to his Japanese counterpart. Bolton says he also asked South Korea to pay $5 billion in host nation support, about 5 times the current amount. He quotes Trump telling him that the way to get the $8 billion and $5 billion annual payments respectively was to threaten to withdraw all U.S. forces. Trump reportedly described that as a very strong bargaining position. The Japanese government has denied it received the request. Talks are scheduled for later this year. Negotiations on the same issue between the U.S. and South Korea have stalled. Turning to the coronavirus pandemic, Johns Hopkins University has reported the number of cases worldwide has surpassed 9 million. The World Health Organization is urging countries to once again tighten anti-coronavirus measures.
It seems that almost every day we reach a new and grim record. Yesterday, more than 183,000 new cases of COVID were reported to WHO.
The Director General called on countries to beef up antivirus measures, including testing suspected cases, isolating those infected, and tracing contacts. Brazil's outbreak shows no signs of abating, with the total number of cases in the country topping 1 million. Professional soccer has returned to some areas of Brazil despite the rising infections. Several clubs ended up finding cases among their players in pre-training tests. 21 of the 27-member squad of the São Paulo club Corinthians tested positive for the virus. Meanwhile, Germany has reported a jump in its coronavirus reproduction rate, one of the country's benchmarks for reinstating restrictions. A government research institute said the estimated reproduction rate stood at 2.76 as of Monday. That means a single virus carrier could infect on average 2.76 people. Keeping that number below 1 is the goal in controlling the outbreak. German researchers say the overall number of new infections remains low in the country. They attribute the spike to a mass outbreak of more than 1,000 people at a meat processing plant in North Rhine-Westphalia state. The mayor of New York says the city has taken a giant step toward reopening its economy. Bill de Blasio welcomed the easing of restrictions on restaurants, stores, and offices, but many New Yorkers are staying right where they've been. NHK World's Catherine Kobayashi explains.
The doors are open again at Corner Social in Harlem, where they boast of warm hospitality and unparalleled service. But for now, all of that will have to remain outdoors.
First, I'm excited because, just happy to be here, just happy to be with the people.
I'm not too afraid. We've dealt with a lot. We've been around worse. We'll survive.
Construction and manufacturing sites reopened here 2 weeks ago. So did shops offering pickup in-store and at the curb. Now, shoppers at some places can head inside, then go get a haircut at a barber shop or salon.
As soon as the governor said they could open, I texted her and said, when are you opening up your appointment book? I want to come now.
Between 150 and 300,000 people are heading back to work. That range underscores some uncertainty. Daily deaths from coronavirus hit a high in April of almost 800. The latest figure was down to 10. But many office managers have decided staff will work from home for another few months. Still, the mayor says reopening will allow people to get back the city they know.
We love reopening. Barbershops and hair salons reopening, restaurants, of course, so much going on that really, really will help us.
Certainly, this isn't the city many New Yorkers are used to. But for now, they'll take a quiet meal on a quiet street. Catherine Kobayashi, NHK World, New York.
An organization of European companies operating in Japan is calling on the government to allow business travel. The chairman of the European Business Council in Japan expressed concern about the impact Japan's travel restrictions are having on businesses. Japan, in principle, currently bans the entry of foreign nationals to prevent the spread of the coronavirus. Vietnam is so far the only country with which Japan has agreed to conditionally allow business people to resume reciprocal visits. Meanwhile, European countries have permitted the arrival of foreign nationals if they have residence permits or work in the medical or agricultural fields. Starting next month, they are expected to allow the entry of tourists from non-European countries that have brought the virus under control.
This unequal treatment and lack of reciprocity not only has an impact on the European business here in Japan, but we see also that it has an impact on the Japanese business.
The Council also voiced concern about the economic partnership agreement between Japan and the European Union that took effect last year. It said the partnership is losing momentum because of the travel ban. Meanwhile, there are some good news for Japan's tourism sector as it tries to recover from the pandemic. Mobile phone data shows people in Tokyo jumped at the chance to head out of the city last weekend as authorities relaxed travel restrictions. NHK analyzed anonymous network data from mobile operator NTT Docomo. It shows the number of visitors to other prefectures from Tokyo shot up on Saturday and Sunday from the last weekend in May. Yamagata and Okinawa saw a nearly 150% spike. Tourist destinations are eager to entice visitors back. The town of Takahata in Yamagata held a cycling event to welcome tourists on Monday. Visitors biked around the town and enjoyed picking the area's famous cherries.
There's still a lot to see. I'll have to come back again.
We lost a lot of tourists, so we couldn't wait to hold this kind of event.
An analyst says the mobile data is a good sign that tourism will gradually get back on track. Turning to the Korean peninsula, North Korea looks set to intensify a propaganda war against its neighbor to the south. After printing millions of leaflets criticizing Seoul, Pyongyang is now reinstalling loudspeakers along the border between the two countries. South Korean military officials said on Monday that Pyongyang has been setting up the speakers in multiple locations in the demilitarized zone. That would violate a 2018 agreement between the two Koreas to halt all hostile acts against each other. State media in the north say the country is loading more than 3,000 balloons with millions of propaganda leaflets. That comes as a direct response to a South Korean campaign. Last month, a group of defectors in the south flew anti-Pyongyang leaflets across the border. In response, North Korea last week blew up a liaison office with the south in the border city of Kaesong. The regime is also threatening to deploy troops to a tourist zone developed as an inter-Korean joint project. Time for world weather now. People in parts of China are dealing with floods and landslides caused by heavy rain. Our meteorologist Yoko Kumagata has more.
Hello there. The rainy season front will continue to stretch across southern and eastern China for the rest of the work week, so several rounds of rain are expected in the same locations. The ground is already weak due to the recent heavy rainfall. Through the next 24 hours, more than 200 millimeters of additional rainfall is expected, especially in the Chonchi and Funan areas. Possibility of flooding and landslides will be the biggest concern. In the meantime, warm air is bringing hot weather in the Korean Peninsula and Taiwan. The high will be 32 degrees in Seoul and 31 degrees in Taipei. The warm air will be shifting toward Japan as we go into the midweek. Temperatures will rise into the 30s in many places. Tokyo will have a high of 32 degrees on Thursday with sunny skies. A few showers are expected on Tuesday in Naha, Okinawa, but it's not going to be as heavy as yesterday. Warm and humid air is spreading across the eastern U.S., creating unstable weather on Tuesday. Severe thunderstorms will be seen in Texas all the way up to Quebec, Canada, as we go into Tuesday, with the possibility of tornadoes. Hundreds of gusts were already reported in some areas. Meanwhile, people in the western U.S. have been dealing with scorching temperatures. The highs will continue to reach into the 40s in Phoenix and Las Vegas on Tuesday. Even Portland will have a high of 33 degrees on Tuesday, which is 10 degrees warmer than usual. Hot and muggy conditions are also expected in the northeastern U.S., I should say. Highs for New York and Washington, D.C. will exceed 30 degrees. That's all for now. Stay safe and have a nice day.
That's NHK Newsline for this hour. I'm Yamamoto Miki in Tokyo. Thanks for joining us.